Hello, yes, it's me, and if you're wondering where we are, it's called a dorm room. It's where I live, because sometimes people spend thousands of dollars to go get an education, sit in a room, and catch a deadly disease. That's the reason I haven't been posting. All three of you who were wondering.
I can name 3 right off the bat. The gang's all here.
Is everybody here? Is everybody sitting down? Everybody got a snack? The whole gang? It's gonna be a long one. Today, I am going to do the thing that is apparently a series on my channel now of fixing things that I think need fixing. If you don't think they need fixing, well, just wait. I'm gonna do it anyway. Changing them to fit my standards and my standards only. And we're doing it with Swan Princess. Did I look it up before I did this? No. The 1994 animated movie. Oh dang, it only made $2 million. Made by Richard Rich. Dear research kids. I give it like a 6.5. You know, it's got some fun stuff in it. It's kind of boring. We're just doing the first one, not the ungodly number of sequels that look very, very bad. Also, when researching the ballet, I learned that Odette is actually referred to as more of a swan queen when she's like at Swan Lake, and I feel like we were robbed. Like, I know animated princesses were all the rage at that period in time, but like Swan Queen, that's so much better. So if you don't remember, because I didn't, I had to look some stuff up. The movie starts actually with like a little prologue about how Odette's father, King William, banished Rothbart because he was being evil, I think, because he was practicing like dark magic, and that's kind of it. And he swears revenge. So in my version, Rothbart is still a man who knew King William and hates him because he was banished. But I'm going to be a little more specific and say he was banished because he was like terrorizing villagers, like putting spells on them as practice or whatever, and for magical experimentation. Because I feel like his power isn't super well defined in the original movie. Like, I don't know what's stopping him from just disguising himself as like the king or someone important and then assassinating the real king and taking the crown or something. I get that he kind of says that it's like, oh, if you take something, then you'll spend your whole life trying to keep it, but still, I feel like there are some ways with all the magic he has. So I'm going to say that his power is specifically transformation. Transmutation, if you will. He follows the law of equivalent exchange, which is why he goes straight to transforming Odette in order to imprison her instead of some other means. And I don't think I can find a way that works within the story to make him like a more complicated or sympathetic villain, and that's fine. Our solution is to just make him feel like a better character, like more connected to the story by tying him to our overarching theme, which is change. Get it? Because we see the two protagonists grow up and change within the This Is My Idea song sequence. It's a theme. Okay. I just want to emphasize it. What Rothbart wants to change about the kingdom doesn't have to be specific either. Maybe he just doesn't want to pay taxes, or he wants the monarchy dead, or he just wants people to bend over backwards for him. But the point is, he thinks that everyone and everything in the world is there to be molded by him. So next part of the movie, we're going to keep everything from This Is My Idea, because it's a great song, and I think it's really good at establishing characters. It's just that those aren't the same characters we see in the rest of the movie. They're really boring. In fact, for the longest time, I really thought that was the only like solid song in the whole movie, because I hadn't watched it in a while. But after revisiting the soundtrack, the music isn't that bad, actually. The melodies are catchy when they need to be, pretty when they need to be. And the lyricist was actually David Zippel, who did the lyrics for Hercules and Mulan. So, like, there's talent in this team. It's just that the songs are kind of basic. So if we can rework the emotional core of the story, that might fix that. So they go through This Is My Idea. You have these two kids who have been set up to be married, but who hate each other. Classic enemies to lovers. And I wanted the end for the parents. Why did I just say it with an accent? It's taking too many Spanish classes. Berta and William to be like very clearly worn down by all of this. They're just tired of their kids, basically. Except instead of them immediately meeting and then singing the This Is My Idea of Love portion, where they're all into each other suddenly, I'm going to have them escape their parents or escape the guards or whatever and run away while the king and queen look for them. So when he's off on his own, Derek finds Odette in, like, I'd say the stables. I just want to emphasize a connection to animals, because again, I think that's funny because she turns into an animal, you know. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's a good option to be like one of her things, because she makes friends with animals in the original script. So let's say she's like talking to the horses or something, and maybe he asks her what she's doing and she lies to him, because that's another thing I want to do, is emphasize some like fatal flaws of our two love interests. With Derek, it's pretty easy to pinpoint his fatal flaw being like pride, like he thinks kind of highly of himself. He's not very good at articulation, better at action. Odette, however, is a literal piece of cardboard. I'm sorry. Liz Calloway has a beautiful voice, doesn't give her personality. I feel like she has no flaws, but she also has no good things either. Except for, she seems nice. She seems like she wants to be brave. That's all I got. So I'm thinking maybe, like, she tends to deceive people because she wants to keep up appearances, which I feel like is natural for a princess who has a lot of pressure to look good and look noble or whatever. So in this scene, I want them to have a conversation that, like, alludes to one of the memories that they share as children. Because again, I really like the idea of these people like growing up together. They know each other. I want to pull on that more. But we don't know the entire memory yet. We just have him say like, oh hey, remember when you didn't want me to kill that swan or something? I'll elaborate later. And this is when I want him to give her the necklace, actually. The little gold heart necklace with the swan thing. It's, I don't know, kind of an afterthought in the movie. But he'll say that like, oh, I wanted to give this to you all those years ago and you didn't give me a chance because we hated each other. So it's kind of like an olive branch. And that is when like they kind of have a moment and they start to sing the part in This Is My Idea where I see him smiling and my knees start buckling. I see him fight him and my doubts are gone. And you know. In that part, the ensemble comes in for like, what a good idea, such a charming and romantic notion. So I think actually that could be funny if like there's this private moment and then a bunch of people storm in because they're like, oh my gosh, they actually like each other for a second. But then similar to the original, I want that to just sort of like come crashing down because he says something stupid or she puts her guard up and gets stubborn, and they can get into an argument about how, one of the things that they can argue about is like he's a hunter and if she likes animals, it's a little bit of a point of tension. She's like, oh, got some bunny rabbits to slaughter or something. And he can be like, well, those bunny rabbits feed people. She can be like, oh, do they, when they're hanging up as trophies or something? So it's like they had a moment, but then they ruined it for each other. Because they're like, oh, for a second, I thought you weren't a jerk. And we can still do the same idea that was, I think, pretty interesting in the movie, where he's like, oh, I'm in love with you. And then she's like, why? And he's like, because you're hot. I don't know. But again, I want there to be a very visible change. I feel like it wasn't clear enough in the original movie about it being like, no, it's not because she's just hot. He's just bad at talking. So that didn't work out. The marriage might not happen now. So like in the original, King William and Odette start going home to their kingdom. And like the original, I am going to have Rothbart kill William before kidnapping Odette. mostly just because it's like, if King William survives, then it's way too easy to fix things. And it's also having the villain kill the parent of one of our main characters. It's a really quick and easy way to make the conflict between the protagonist and the antagonist very personal. That being said, I also don't want it to be like a fridge moment where like King William's just dead and we didn't even know him and he's just there to die. So I was thinking it would be nice to see William and Odette have a moment in the carriage ride home. Maybe he says he just wants her to be happy. He didn't mean to like force her into anything. Sir, a loud bike is not a personality. Are you done? Where he tells her he just wanted her to be happy. He didn't mean to force her into anything and that it doesn't have to happen, before he gets axed. Suddenly, oh no, Rothbart ambushes the carriage, kills King William, kidnaps Odette, takes her to Swan Lake where his banishment castle is. First of all, I'm not going to make it some sort of twist. It felt like the movie was trying to trick the audience into being like, oh, who did this? Oh, it's Great Animal. It's Rothbart, obviously. And we are not revealing the Great Animal at all yet. We're not even touching on it because it's unnecessary. Okay, so Odette finds herself at Swan Lake. I think maybe a moment of her being really upset that Rothbart just killed her dad would be appropriate. A little grieving moment. And she's angry at him, obviously. And so she asks him why he's done this. Because it doesn't seem in the original that she's really aware of Rothbart and her father's past, and I'll keep that. So that is when I would have Rothbart's villain song. No More Mr. Nice Guy isn't that bad.
I intend to eat their lunches.
Again, it's just kind of generic. So we're going to bring change in as a theme again. So I imagine his song is called Things Change, something like that. He can sing about how people want change, but they don't like when people actually try to make change. And so, as a theory, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool sounding. But then he's like, but the change I want to make is making everyone do what I want. And Odile, his daughter, can be his fun Broadway backup singer. I don't know why Odile was replaced with a mute old lady, Bridget, in the original. She's not really funny. I don't know. She has some funny cackles. But I don't see why we can't make it Odile. And in this song, either in dialogue form or not, he can say that he was just happy being able to play with magic, terrorize anyone who came near for a long time, but things change, and now he wants as much power as he can get in the world. I think this would explain why he didn't kidnap Odette sooner. Also, in my version, I'm not doing the whole, you have to... I don't even get it. To declare your love to the world, to break this spell, I think it's a little contrived. In my version, the spell just becomes permanent after 3 days, or whatever arbitrary number, however long it takes for the spell to become permanent by the end of the movie. And Odette doesn't know this. She doesn't know any, sort of contingencies that the spell has. She just knows that she's turning into a swan every night when she's on the water, and that Rothbart is telling her that eventually it will be permanent. And we can still do the whole thing where when the moonlight hits the water, she turns into a swan. Doesn't make a difference, and it's pretty. While Rothbart is off scheming or doing whatever villains do, Odette meets our sidekicks. I don't hate the sidekicks, but again, I don't think they add a ton either. In fact, I think they sometimes do too much. Things that I think the protagonists should be doing. And in the ballet, when Odette is at Swan Lake, that's when all these other swan dancers come on for a bit. And I really like that idea more than just random animals who decide to help her, but they don't have any stakes in the main conflict. So I kind of want us to have, instead of a turtle, a puffin, and a frog, it's 3 other swans who have been transformed by Rothbart because I don't know, they denied his marriage proposal, or their dog pooped in his yard. It doesn't matter, you know? Plus, it can be a sign that, like, he likes transforming people into swans. No clue why. They don't all have to be girls like in the ballet. This is more of an adaptation of the fairy tale than the ballet. But I would like some girl posse content, not gonna lie. They can have the same personalities too if you want to do that. Was there a lot from the original Sidekicks? Back at the ranch, back at the kingdom, we can still do the whole everyone thinks Odette is dead, but Derek thinks otherwise. That's fine. But not the song practice, 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 because it's just kind of basic. Again, I get that they're trying to emphasize that, like, he's better with action than with words, and that he's trying really hard. But it doesn't work without the great animal being hinted at already, and I don't want the stupidly obvious detective work that he does on the great animal. It's like, yeah, duh, he's magic. That's what he transformed into an animal. Also, it's like, you're dying, William. You can't say it's Rothbart. He's an animal. Other than that, I would have Derek finding Odette in pretty much the same way, like he sees her as a swan, tries to shoot her down, and then follows her back. But because we set up the memory of Odette not wanting him to kill a swan as, like, a teenager, the moment that he decides not to shoot her is more of a kind act, more of a fond remembrance act, than him thinking, hey, that's a pretty hot swan. They reunite at the lake, but still, they are not, like, full out admitting they're in love with each other. Okay, it's very important. I'm trying to delay it till the end, so it's very cathartic, so there's some suspense. And I think I would have their romantic duet to be together instead of a part where they're just singing about wanting to be together. Just because I want to work on their dynamic of, like, love-hate. So Far Longer Than Forever, while again being pretty, is very basic. So we're replacing it with a song I imagine to be named something like In That Moment or In This Moment. And the whole idea is singing about the moment they realized they were in love with each other. They just can't admit it yet. So this is when the audience finally hears about the memory that they share as teenagers in its entirety. I want it to be like a duet with a back and forth structure. Like, one starts to describe what happens and the other, like, butts in from time to time, being like, that's not how I remember, you were a jerk or whatever. So what I imagine happens is during, like, an important hunting party with one of the kingdom's allies, like they have to impress somebody. I'd say like 5-ish years ago, when they were 14 to 16. I don't know how old they're supposed to be in the movie, but I imagine like 20. So this hunting party of Derek's mother's kingdom's allies, they're ready to kill this beautiful swan that's in the woods or whatever. But Odette has just befriended the swan because she's a weirdo. She talks to animals. That's weird. So she begs Derek to convince them not to kill the swan. But he just makes fun of her because she made friends with a bird, and he's a teenage boy. He's mean. This angers her so much that she gets the swan to fly away. She helps it escape, and then tells the nobleman that Derek lost it. This kind of has worse repercussions than she realized. Like he's really heavily reprimanded, and he's really embarrassed in front of all these important people. And she feels bad, but she proceeds to her bedroom, basically. He also knows he's made a mistake and realizes he shouldn't have made fun of her, because it sucks that she has no friends in the kingdom. So he makes one, or gets one somehow, but he brings her the gold necklace with the swan on it as a sort of olive branch, once again. But before she even knows about it, before he can give it to her, once again, they sort of just fall into an argument. Like, he kind of blames it on her because he's bad at apologizing. She gets stubborn. She sends him away without even listening, never learning about it. So I want the verses of the song to refer to that moment years ago when they both realized that they would be fighting with each other for the rest of their lives. The chorus of In This Moment refers to when she received the necklace earlier in the movie, and they realized the feelings. However, when they get to the point where they could tell each other that they love each other, they stop. They like trail off, or maybe they get interrupted by Rothbart coming back, or they start fighting again. We still don't want them to admit it. Like the bridge of it could be like, I thought I knew you, but then you changed. I thought I knew me, but I changed too. Pieces of me have been rearranged, and every piece knows in this moment, I love you. Never mind. Am I just making them enemies to lovers who can't admit feelings until they revisit a childhood moment because I'm imitating Anya and Dimitri, the other non-Disney animated princess movie? Absolutely not. So Derek wants to help get her out of her kidnappingness, but Odette doesn't want him to be in danger, so again, she lies. She says she's not afraid, she's already found a way to escape, knows how to break the spell, and can come to his ball where he's supposed to choose a bride the next night. Plus, when Derek is ready to help, she says that killing Rothbart might just mean that the spell on her never gets broken, which is an idea actually touched upon in the ballet, and I think is interesting. And then, let's say like Rothbart or a crony of Rothbart, Odile or someone, chases him away, but Derek assures Odette that they will see each other at the ball. So Odette not only fears for his safety, but also her future. She's going to be a swan forever. And the other swans have already given up hope because they've been like this for years, probably. So I imagine they sing a song about, again, no fear isn't bad. It's pretty catchy. It's just I wish there was a little more like character in it, like draw on Odette's past or something. So I would do a song where she tells them that when she's scared, she acts like she knows what she's doing, and eventually it actually happens. So again, like the original, Rothbart is planning to send Odile, disguised as Odette, to the ball. So since she is going alone to get Derek to marry her, Rothbart is standing guard with the swans to make sure Odette stays put. So their plan is to lead him away, like, to the dungeon in his castle, by one of them, like, faking an escape, and then they can lock him in, and then Odette can fly after Derek. They do succeed in doing this. Maybe, like the movie, they can be singing the song while doing it. I'm not sure. Because it's hard to tell, like, when I take things away and when I add things, how much time needs to be filled or not filled. So, the ball is about to start. And I want, actually, Derek to plan on asking Odile, disguised as Odette, but Odette, to marry him at the ball out of his own volition, rather than it being some weird, like, prove it to the world trademark rule. I think it's a dumb spell breaker. It's not that bad, but like it's so, what does prove it to the world mean? Is the whole world a single room of people? Plus I think it's way sadder and has more angst in it if he doesn't tell anyone that he's planning to do this. He just wants to do it really badly because he's finally realizing he loves her. Yeah, you get it. Even though that means he plays right into Rothbart's hands. So I actually think it'd be cool if Odile had a song in my version. A song about like her playing a part, like, oh, flip your hair here and twirl there or something. I'm not a songwriter. But it could be cool and creepy. I also, it's kind of a controversial idea because it's different from the ballet and the legend. But I kind of want Derek to realize Odette isn't Odette just because he knows her. I just think, again, if you set up these two love interests who have grown up with each other and who know each other inside and out, I think it'd be kind of a cool subversive moment, maybe. Maybe we've had enough subversive moments, but I think it'd be kind of cool if, like, they're talking and she talks about how, oh, it's fine that you did that thing as a kid. It's fine. Or it's fine that you call me that one name that one time. And he knows it's not her because he knows that she would very much care and she would hate him for it, you know? And so that makes him suspicious, and then maybe he can ask another question like what she said to him when they first met or something. And she can like kind of evade it or say the predictable thing. So he realizes but hasn't done anything about it yet. We cut back to the Swan Lake Castle, where Odette is just leaving the dungeon from where they imprisoned Rothbart, and she finds like a book of spells or something written down that says that the Swan transformation takes 3 days before it becomes permanent. And so she realizes it's been that long, or however long the movie is. I don't know. I was told there'd be no math. But she realizes it's too late for her. So all she can really do is try to get to Derek before he signs over the kingdom, maybe say goodbye. She also reads the cure to any transformation spell. Yes, I know it's convenient. And the cure is an unspoken truth is released. Something along those lines. Maybe that sounds just as like cryptic and weird as proving your love to the world, but I don't know. There's something about like transformation could equal deception. Truth is the opposite. Yeah, I don't know. They just need to declare their feelings and solve the problem. So it's vague. She's confused by it. Doesn't think it will help. Just goes on with flying to the palace. Maybe there could even be a moment where she's let in through the palace gates by Bromley, the friend of Derek. So that could be a little redemption moment for him, because he believes her story, even though he made fun of her as a kid. So in the castle, Derek pulls his crossbow on Odile. I changed the bow and arrow to a crossbow just because it is more easily fireable, which is needed for this next part. He pulls it on Odile, but he sees Odette as a swan in the window, and Odile manages to point it at Odette as soon as Derek shoots. So, oh no, Odette has been shot with an arrow. That's really sad. And she's in the air, but 2 of the swans can like lower her to the ground so she doesn't freaking die on impact. While holding a dying Odette in his arms, Derek asks for forgiveness for the things he said about her all those years ago, and shooting her, that too. So here I'm trying to have him grow away from his fatal flaw of pride. Same with Odette when she admits that she shouldn't have lied to the hunting party, so she's finally telling the truth. So maybe they say something like, oh, it's gonna be fine. She's like, I don't think so. Swans aren't that sturdy. Maybe if I turned back, it wouldn't be so serious. After all, the sun is coming up. But she tells him that it's permanent because she saw the spell book. So then, of course, by revisiting this memory and fixing the past, they admit their love for each other. And this, of course, breaks the spell and turns her back because they admitted the truth, finally. I realize this does not cure her of an arrow injury. However, I feel like there are a lot of things that people can survive that swans can't. So maybe it's just not fatal. It's just like she turns back and she stands up and it's like in her hip or side or something. The main problem I know with this climax is that Derek has to confess his feelings to a swan, which probably won't be everyone's favorite image. However, again, I think you could do something kind of cool visually here by transitioning into like an imagined version of them. Like as a symbol, we see them both turn into their like child or teenage selves. And then they're finally able to sing the I love you part of the In This Moment song. You see, it's cathartic and it's direction. And it's not just her hating him for being sexist, but it was just a misunderstanding, but then she went back to being in love with him anyway, but also they have no personality. I don't know. I was kind of proud of it. But oh no, they are together and human again. Only human again. Knickknacks and whatnots, no more. But Rothbart has returned. He escaped. The swan guarding him, or whoever, failed. And this is when he turns into his great animal self or whatever. It's very Maleficent-esque, I know. A last minute transformation. I also want his beast form to emphasize how much he values transformation and also show results of what his experimentation was in the past. So I imagine this like horrible, mangled Frankenstein's monster of multiple animals stitched together like a chimera or something. But similar to the original, he's defeated by Derek and Bromley shooting arrows into his chest or something. And we can have Odette, since she's injured, she probably can't do a ton, but we can have her catch Odile and tie her up with the help of the other swans. So after vanquishing Rothbart, I kind of want Derek to like turn to Odette and like playfully ask, "You still think I shouldn't kill animals?" And Odette can say like, "I'll allow it this time." And then maybe even like get all solemn and say, you know, "For my father." So then, with Rothbart's death, the 3 other swans turn back into themselves, and everyone lives happily ever after. It's amazing. So that's pretty much it. That is all the changes I would make. You may not like them, but I do, so isn't that what matters? Also, I couldn't stop drawing moments that I imagined from Derek and Odette's childhood, so enjoy these. Imagine them rolling through the end credits or something. Comment what you thought, or don't. Just don't be mean, because I'm sensitive.